a warm welcome to the Mitrá virtual masterclass. And the idea of this masterclass is that we have two phenomenal speakers today who will be coming and teaching one particular technique each. The first speaker who's coming up is Archana Dange. She has 3 decades of experience in the field of education, especially preschool. Okay, she's a Cherie Blair alumna. I hope I pronounced it right. So she has authored primary textbooks with Oxford University Press. Archana is currently the director of Helen O'Grady International Preschool Chain. She is also head of Helen O'Grady Drama Academy for children. Today, she's going to be talking about attention anchoring techniques through story, drama, and songs for KG to grade 2. Here we have Archana. The second speaker who would come up after Archana is Dr. Maalathi, who's the founder and CEO of Oro Edu Services. Okay, and today she is going to be talking about lesson planning for virtual classrooms. She's certified from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. She's the CEO and advisor for many international schools in India and abroad. She has set up 14 international schools, 88 CBSE, 2 multi-disability centers across India and Doha. Thank you so much, Maalathi, for being here. So we will take Archana on the screen.
Starting off, because I know we are rushed for time today. Teachers and principals, I think today we are going to be really trying to tackle one of the most difficult problems, especially when we are handling small children. All these years when we were working with the small children, we dissuaded them from too much of digital. And now we have the same televisions and the same, mobile phones and laptops being used by us to reach out to these children. And I think we are doing a very important job. We are restricting our time with them to maybe an hour and not more than that, because that is what is probably good for them, at least better for them than 9 to 3 or 9 to 1 kind of classroom sessions that we generally have when it's physical classroom. So in the given circumstances, we are all trying to do our best. So a huge clap for all of us as teachers. During COVID, I think the doctors have really stood very tall, tried to ensure that they've been there for every single person. But I think another community is the teacher community. So we are doing so many different things. And all of us who never knew how to handle a laptop properly, we didn't know how to connect to the internet properly. Now we've become ustad at it. And I have, teachers, some of them over 50 years of age. And I now see them very proudly having conversations with their grandchildren. So that is what we have done to ourselves. We have learned. The process of learning is something that never stops. When we are doing digital learning, one of the most common problems that we have, especially with small children, LKG, UKG, grade 1 and grade 2, very difficult to keep their attention. So I've just made a small presentation, which I'll take you through, basically saying that there is a technique that we can all use. And that technique is called anchoring. Anchoring, I wonder whether any of you know the meaning of it. What does the word anchor bring to your mind? Can you write it in the chat perhaps? Basically, an anchor is what you find in a ship. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us that clue. So when a ship is on the sea and needs to stop at some point, you drop your anchor, so it helps you to stop at that point. That's what, that's one of the tools that you can use in your digital classroom to be able to reach out to your children. So when we say anchor, there are 2 kinds of anchors which we have to keep in mind. As a teacher, I have my own anchor. And then as a student, for my students, I want to create an anchor so that they find it easy to concentrate on it. Okay. For example, for an LKG, UKG classroom, perhaps this will be my anchor. And I'll say, hi, children. See who's come to class today with me. This is my best friend, Teddy. And Teddy and I are today going to be talking to you about all the fruits and vegetables that Teddy loves to eat. So now, when this happens in a pre-KG, LKG, UKG kind of a classroom, the Teddy becomes an anchor. So every time you feel that the child is getting restless, you've been talking about apple and strawberry and I don't know, whatever fruits we have been teaching them, but suddenly you find that the class is not attentive. To get their attention back, you can say, children, Teddy is very hungry now. What do we do? Shall we give him a fruit? Which fruit do you want to give him? You want to give him an apple? Okay, let's cut an apple. So that's the way you bring the attention back using an anchor. So this teddy bear becomes an anchor. Now, in LKG and UKG kind of classrooms, it is good to use a physical anchor, something that the child can see. Children at this age do not really, many of them, some of them do, but many of them do not really relate to abstract anchors. Okay, so a physical anchor, a prop, like a puppet or a soft toy or, something like that to help, right? But suppose you were doing this for grade 2. Now in grade 2, children little more, able to take an imaginary prop. Okay. So if you were doing something for grade 2, I would say, hi children, I want to introduce you today to my best friend, the tree. This is my tree today. And I'm so happy because I'm standing under the tree and it's given me so much shade. So the whole class, whenever you see that the class is kind of getting distracted, you drag them back and tell them about the tree. Oh, children, the tree is swaying. That means there must be a big wind. Can you hear the wind? Can you all make the sound of the wind for me? Ooh, very good. Oh, my tree is so happy to have the wind blowing so merrily. The leaves are making a noise. Okay, great. Now shall we get back? Where were we? Okay, so this helps the child. So any kind of a imaginary, a prop can be used by you. It could be 2 years if you want. So whenever you want to become, whenever you want to bring their attention back, suddenly go back to your 2 years and say, ha, 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 now I'm the rabbit. Now you have to look at me and let's sing a song or something like that. So it happens that children cannot, of course, concentrate beyond not more than about 5 to 7 minutes at a time. So it's good that every 5 to 7 minutes you have some small kind of a break activity like this to help them relax, come back, have some fun, energize their brain, and then go forward with your class. So that's another technique that you would use when you are dealing with your second standards. Of course, the same strategy when you want to do it, with your 7th standard, 6th standard children, you wouldn't even need to use your hand. You would just tell them where you are and what you want them to imagine, and they would imagine it, and they will give you even more ideas there. So that's the difference between the way you would handle it in the classes. Thank you. There are so many comments coming in, and I find clapping and rhythm getting, yes, that's right. That's another nice way. Counting is another nice way of getting children to, count along with you and taking it back. What I'm also trying to get at here is that, when we do this, whenever we are thinking of story anchors, we are keeping one thing in mind. It's very easy to think of a story anchor. It's very easy to make up a story anchor. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that every story anchor is linked to one of our 5 senses. What are the 5 senses that we have? Eyes, ears, nose, touch, and taste, right? These are the 5. So every one of your story anchors will be used for anyone, to help the child control the sense and come back to what you are trying to do. Okay, so that's what is going to be a story anchor. So I'm just going to share the slide with you. So I was telling you that, we have two things to keep in mind as teachers. One is, what kind of story anchors can I create for my students so that they find it easy to look and to understand what I'm saying? Point number one. And point number two is, what story anchors do I have? Okay. And our story anchors, or our anchors for our class, are these two things that you are seeing on the screen. The learning objective of every lesson that you are going in with. When you go into a class, you will be going in prepared with your lesson plan. And your lesson plan will surely have a learning objective and a learning outcome defined. Now, this is our anchor. We cannot go into class unprepared. So I do find sometimes, especially when we are dealing with LKG, UKG children, many of us feel, easy done, what is there to teach? ABC, 1, 2, 3, adella same da nursery rhymes, iddu other, it is all the same. This is how we take it. But unless we plan what we are going to be doing, it's very, very difficult. We'll be wasting time and children's time as well. So it's good always to go with a lesson plan. Have a learning objective. You can be flexible in the methodology that you use. You may not achieve every learning objective, or your outcomes may not be what you expect them to be, because children are in a different mood that day, but that is acceptable. But don't go into your class without your story anchor, which is the learning objective and the learning outcome. So I did talk about the 5 senses. Let's just rush through them. You have you can have a physical visual aid like my teddy bear, or you can have an imaginary one like the tree. You could have recorded music as an anchor, which you will play in between, or like somebody was saying in the chat box, create a rhythm, of your own. So, for example, in grade 3, if you're following the Oxford textbook in English, you would have a chapter about, Tenali Rama. And one of the things that I did in that class was that, in the break, so whenever every section ended, every section of the story ended, I would get all the children to pretend that they are they are the singers of the town, and they would go in and around the desks singing. And what would they sing? Rama Rama Rama, Tenali Rama. That's all, only those 2 lines, but they will go on repeating it. And one chakkar around the classroom, back, they're all excited to know what next. Use your senses, touch and taste as well. I did talk about this. So basically, all I need to tell you is that whenever you're thinking of doing the learning objectives, use the senses to guide you. For each of the senses, try and come up, and you are creative yourself. So I'm sure you sit down and you think about it, you're going to be able to really come up with a number of such story anchors. Every story anchor helps you to bring the children's attention back into your class. Thanks so much. I hope this has been useful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Archana. You've been a sweetheart. Most importantly, you stuck on to time, and the technique was amazing. I mean, anchoring technique is amazing. Dr. Maalathi is here to give us one technique on lesson planning. Over to Maalathi.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and good to see you, Archana. It was pleasure listening to you. You touched upon your energy levels are amazing. The way you touched upon, the way you enacted, amazing, mindful. My congratulations to you and to all the teachers, as you mentioned, who have been fighting this COVID along, like the frontline warriors. With the children across, not knowing what technology is all about, being in the classroom all these while, not knowing anything about computer or even about smart boards. We had so much of fear about using a smart board. So we have come out of it, though it's a bit late because most of us have been using a virtual platform for more than 6 months now. But better late than never. Thanks, Mitrá, and thanks, Deepa, for organizing this beautiful and giving an opportunity. So I have 10 minutes. My clock starts ticking now. So let me finish it, as early as possible. Now, virtual classroom, do lesson plans actually change? Lesson plans are important one. And most of the time, what happens, we don't give that much of importance as teachers. We all know it deep down the line. If we ask, are we giving so much of importance to lesson plans? Not really. So what do we need to do for the lesson planning? As the regular lesson planning, what we do, that has a aim, it has an objective, as Archana was mentioning about. It has an aim, it has learning aim, a learning objective, learning outcome. Then, how are we going to measure the learning outcome? And then what kind of assessment tool that you're going to use, and what kind of a teaching aids that you're going to, use to deliver this teaching aids that are used. Exactly the same thing. And the biggest challenge what we have here in the virtual classroom while planning a lesson is that we don't get into the classroom with a big smile. First thing is, when we walk into the classroom, good morning, good afternoon, we miss that. When we enter the classroom, we completely miss that. And what else? We miss the physical presence of the children. So we will know, last bench konja dulla irukku, இன்னைக்கு இதுங்களுக்கு மூடு சரியில்லை, ரவுடியா இருக்கு. We miss all those things. So because most of the time we judge the children based on the mood set, mood when we enter the classroom, and we change the dynamics of the lessons according to the mood of the children. Supposing if the children are feeling, really, ma'am, math class was so heavy, you're teaching science, or maybe geography was so heavy, we are feeling so bored. What do? You take the children out to deliver the lessons. You actually take, okay, come, let's go, have a small round, or have a small game outside, or let's do some kind of a dance, and then, let's start the lesson. Or you at least you make them stand up, sit down, you do that lesson, change the mood set. But in a virtual classroom, what do? I already have a fear, because I'm not comfortable. I don't know when my bandwidth will get over. That is one thing. Second thing is, I have to fear parents are watching me. What will they think that, I'm talking all the time, and then, they are also sitting and listening to me. Am I comfortable or confident in delivering my lessons? English nalla irukka, illa parents yaradhu kora solla porana, illa and pasanga video off pannite enna pandranga. You have all these fears. So I'm telling you, these happens even inside the classroom. Only thing is, now you're going to the child's house. This cannot be avoided at all. Post-pandemic also, what we are going to have is going to be a blended learning. I'm not sure, even if post-pandemic, if this is going to get over, we get into the classroom, it is not that we will be working 220 days in the school premises. There is going to be off days where we will again work remotely, where we will have. So all that we need is a perfect lesson plan. And how should a lesson plan be? It has to be smart. Just like you, how you get into the classroom smartly dressed, similarly, you have the lesson plan also to be smart. So what is smart? SMART. The lesson plan has to be specific, it has to be measurable, achievable, realistic, and it has to be time scaled. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time scaled. You have only 30 minutes you are getting. So though you have prepared the session plan, though you have prepared the lesson plan for the whole year, the session plan is done, the unit plan is also done, but this 30 minutes, what is going to be the outcome that I'm expecting? I'm doing one unit, or I'm doing one paragraph or one chapter. What is it, that outcome? So specific learning outcome, learning objective, and learning outcome for the 30 minutes is very, very essential. At the end of this session, what will the children would have learned? What they would have learned, and how am I going to measure it? That is going to be the focus for you to think about. So this session, 30-minute session, today I'm going to teach about algebraic expressions, exercise 1.1 to 1.1. So these 4 sums, what is that I'm going to talk about? So this it has to be very, very specific about what you're going to say. So specific learning objective for each session. That will actually make you, give to which will be measurable. The next one is the measurable. That will also help you to measure the success of the lesson which has been delivered. Then is it achievable in one period or one time slot that is given to you, 30 minutes, 40 minutes? Yes, it has to be achievable, because based on the session plan that we write. Is it realistic goal that I have certain? Will all children be able to, supposing, you write a lesson plan. Okay, usually நம்ம lesson plan எழுதும்போது objectives எழுதுவோம், aim objectives எழுதும்போது 1 2 3 4 பாயிண்ட் எழுதுவோம். ஆனா இங்க virtual classroom எழுதும்போது each day, I know it is time consuming. Okay, already it is time consuming for all of us, because ஸ்கூலுக்காவது நம்ம காலையில 9 o'clock போயிட்டோம்னா 4 மணிக்கு வீட்டுக்கு வந்துருவோம். ஆனா இப்போ 24 hours we are working from home, so it is still more time consuming. But once you start planning on this, I think this will definitely help you more than that. You will become a pro at it, or master. Now the master class, so you'll become a master in those lesson plans. So this preparing the lesson plan. So what you need to do, spend some time beforehand and then prepare. 30 minutes. Now, if it is a direct, if I have a school, what will I do? I will plan for some activities. I will have some teaching aids. Get everything ready, organized, okay? On a folder in your system, which can be accessible at a click of a button. Supposing you are teaching the older children like class 7, 8, 8, there is something called as the break rooms. You can actually use the break rooms and get children to engage and break them into smaller groups. அது தெரியணும். அதுக்கு முன்னாடி நமக்கு நம்ம டெக்னாலஜி யூஸ் பண்ணும்பொழுது நமக்கு முக்கியமா அந்த டெக்னாலஜி பத்தி நல்லாவே தெரியணும். மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் கிளாஸ் ரூம் யூஸ் பண்றோமா, இல்ல கூகுள் கிளாஸ் ரூம் யூஸ் பண்றோமா, இல்ல வந்து வெப்எக்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்றோமா, இல்ல ஜூம் பிளாட்ஃபார்ம், விச் எவர் பிளாட்ஃபார்ம், அந்த டெக்னாலஜி பத்தி ஐ ஹாவ் டு பி அ மாஸ்டர் அட் இட். எங்க தப்பு பண்ணலாம், எங்க பிரேக் ஆகும், எங்கேயாவது தப்பு ஏதாவது தேவையில்லாத ஒண்ணுன்னா எப்படி பிளாக் பண்றது. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஐ நீட் டு பி அ மாஸ்டர் அட் த டெக்னாலஜி. Then I need to utilize all the tools that are given there, just like Deepa used now with those, funny faces for the lower classes. That would definitely, because that's where the creativity comes from. So that has to be there. Then the third thing is, so within given these groups, activities, when you're preparing a curricular activities, those activities cannot be boring. That is also there. Then based on the age group, work on the attention span, because you will know for a smaller children the attention span is very less, and for the older the children the attention span is little more. So plan your activities based on the attention span. Then have time for your recapitulation, then have time for your assessment and assignment also. Now these things, if you have it in mind, I think you will be the master of each of your class. Most of the time what happens, as I told you, we are all excellent teachers. We are one of the best teachers. We can go on and on talking. But now within this 30 minutes, 40 minutes, with the disturbance in the video, with the disturbance in the bandwidth, we struggle to engage and then to deliver the best. So be pro at it. First, master that, technology which you are going to use, the tools that you are going to use. Work on, what is it, how is the class sessions are going to be delivered, the number of classes, how the, what kind of teaching aids or games that I'm going to use to keep them engaged, and then finally on how the assessments are going to happen. Now, once this is done, I think you will deliver one of the best lesson plans. I wish you all the very best for the coming days and then, the coming years as well.
Thank you, Maalathi. You are a sweetheart. Thanks for sticking on to your time. And yes, we are not going to let you go. So I have already invited you into to be one of our mentors into Mitrá. So we are going to have mentors like Maalathi, Archana, and many, many more who will actually take sessions, virtual sessions, Mitrá, and we're going to have assessments. So the way we've structured our curriculum, Maalathi and Archana, we'll definitely need your inputs on that, is that every 30 minutes, teachers take assessments, and we actually do a pre-diagnostic testing before they take on our courses. After they take our 15-hour lessons, we again test them once again and give them a report. Say, this is where you are. So, on the alavukku, we are getting into measurable goals, as you rightly said, the SMART goals and curriculum planning. And, we are one key takeout from here for all educators, including me, is stay organized. And a lot of things can happen when we plan in advance, Ilya. So that was a very, very big takeout. So thank you so much, Maalathi, for being here. But please hold on. I request all of you to please put up your questions on chat. So we have a few questions here already. The first question is, I think it's directed to you, Archana, actually. It says, anchoring technique okay for online sessions. What you're saying is very, very useful. But most of us do a self-paced learning for children. And we send out videos and what's on WhatsApp and things like that. How can we use an anchoring technique there? That is a question. How do we attract attention?
So if you are doing a video, then even when you're doing the video, you can use an anchor. And you use an anchor only when you really want to use an anchor. Please don't think it is compulsory to use an anchor. It's not like that. It's only when you really feel the necessity of doing so. So if you are sending videos home and you are recording those videos, you may want to have various anchors kept in your video also, so that the child does feel like watching you and does not get distracted.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Archana, for keeping that short and crisp, but it was straight to the point, and I'm sure it answered your question. Savita has another question. Maybe both of you can take it. In a virtual classroom, especially in primary classes, how do I make inactive kids more active? So that they feel involved and engaged. They என்ன பண்ணலாம் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு question. Savita, who's again a school teacher, is asking this question.
The answer is not very easy, but some of the things that we can possibly do is one of the ideas suggested by Maalathi was a breakout room. So whenever you feel that the class size is too large and some children are not getting enough space or attention, you could organize the breakout room so that the class gets split into 2 or 3 groups. So that's one of the ways you can do it. The other way being, as a teacher, when you are doing your lesson planning, you keep in mind these 3 or 4 children whom you really need to draw out into your classroom and plan an activity or something that they have to help you along with while the class is going on. So these are some things that you can do to make sure that those who are shy or not really forthcoming do get a chance, do get a push or a pull from you to participate.
Okay, thanks, Archana. So to answer that question, from my angle, the perspective which I see, as she said beautifully, I also see the other side. Now, what I'm looking at, children are definitely not that kind of active even during the regular sessions. We do see children who are dull, who don't want to participate, who are hesitant. Now, imagine they are at home and they're definitely not used to it. And not all children would like to use the gadget. As we all, believe in the mass that, every child is hooked on to gadget and they all want to use the gadget. It is not so. That's the reason that we are suggesting that, have the online sessions lesser for the children who are younger, at least till class 3, and then have more offline sessions which can be sent to the parents, which the children can view with the parents. Parental guidance, it is important for them to watch it with the parental guidance so that the parent will tell them, okay, in the lesson every partiya, every padichiya. So with the guidance, just like some of the movies that we watch, if that could be, then you can actually expect some kind of an engagement and then participation. Otherwise, it's going to be tough.
Okay. So thanks, Maalathi, for your opinion as well. Just stay on for the next question, which is directed to you. When we plan interactive sessions with children, we need to keep in mind that children need some time to answer. So any tips for that? I think Aishu is asking this question, a lady called Aishu. I think the question is all about how do we manage time while planning for lesson planning, while we plan our lessons.
Exactly. So that's what I said, time bound, you need to understand I have 30 minutes. So I have 5 minutes for recall or 3 minutes for motivation. And then, you need to actually time your entire thing, presentation. How many minutes does it take? And definitely you need to have 5 minutes, minimum 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes for the interaction with the children. You need to give them time. We can't mute them all the time and we can't tell them that no, only it's not one-way communication. It has to be interactive. Whether it is the lower class children or with the higher class children, they would like to talk, because only by asking questions and only by, that's when they show that I am attentive. How else will they clarify their doubts? It's going to be difficult for them. So give instructions, very specific instructions at the end of, before closing, I will give you 5 minutes time for each of you to ask your question, just like how you did now a few minutes back.
Thank you so much. The next question, I think it's directed to me. Can we have sessions on further days for diagnostic test conducting? Yes, we are going to have a lot of sessions. We are going to be coming to your school, and I will take this question offline with each one of you. You can direct message us on our social handles and we will take these questions offline. So right now we'll make the best use of the stalwarts who are here. So of course, how can you make virtual class more effective and interesting? That is what we're talking about. Kandipa 10 நிமிஷத்துல நம்மளால justice பண்ண முடியாது. This was just a peek into what you will see as part of our classes. And somebody has asked a very interesting question. So this will be the last question that we would take for today. How can I teach maths effectively for middle school children in an online class, ma'am? Can any of you now the max nala odi poiduven? Can any of you answer this question?
Definitely. Math can be made interesting because it is one of the easiest subjects to be made interesting, because you have several tools which are available to make it, easier. You have a lot of, now that, there are a lot of edupreneurs who is watching, and then a lot of edupreneurs who have come out with creative solutions. Math has become very, very easy and interesting. for which we as teachers, we need to be equipped, we need to be aware of what kind of softwares and tools which are available to make it more interesting to the children. That's it.
Absolutely. So true. Archana, do you have an opinion on this?
I agree completely with what Malti has said. There are so many new things that are there in the market, very, very interesting puzzles and, games,
Games.
which really tease the brain of the child and force the child to apply, the principles of mathematics that are learned. So as teachers, our job is to keep updating ourselves. The more we update ourselves, the more we'll know how to use these tools in our classrooms.
Fantastic. Thanks, Archana. We love you all, dear educate. All of us together, we will make this world a better place. A big thank you to Mitra and Team GKS Foundation. We love you all and thank you, dear participants. Love you. Thanks, Archana. Thanks, Maalathi.